Good morning, everyone. Today is a new Saturday. I hope everyone is keeping safe and well, and that we're all keeping, as we say. It's good to connect with everyone. How are you, Carol? Good.
Good, thank you. How are you all?
Good. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So today we have the pleasure to be joined by Abdourahmane. Abdourahmane is a brother from Senegal, Dakar. He's an economist, but most importantly, is a man of earth, if I may say that this way, focusing his work on agriculture, developing programs for young people and young women empowerment in the field of agriculture, looking at how to build ecosystems around food and around agriculture. So really pushing against, the misconceptions that agriculture is just manual work, really looking at all the stakeholders who are part of the system, of the ecosystem, and really revolutionizing the way that we engage today on our continent in Africa on agriculture and looking at all the tools and all the mechanisms and processes and people who are involved. Abdourahmane was also a Mandela Washington Fellow, so we have someone extraordinary who's joining us today. I'm not going to take too long on the introduction. I'm going to leave the floor to Abdourahmane to lead us on why centering Earth is important today and why agriculture matters. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Verlin, for this presentation. I'm so happy to join you today, and thank you for this introduction. Thank you also to all the participants that are joining us for this conversation. I'm so happy to be your guest today. As Verlin was saying, I'm from Senegal, and especially in Dakar. Dakar is the most western part of Africa, of inland Africa, and so I'm so happy to join you today for this talk, discussing about this important subject, which is agricultural sector, the field I've been working through 4 years. I also want to take this moment also to congratulate Verlin and all the team behind this initiative of Bio Powerfully that I have the chance to discover just a few weeks ago, because I believe that it's important, especially for young people, to have this kind of models and source of inspiration, and have this chance also to share our story, because we don't know how our story is related to another person's story. So it's important for us to share our stories as well as listening to others' story, to the story of people that are around us. Replying to this question of why agriculture matters is just a way for me to reply about to give my perspective on how I have entered in the agricultural sector. Because 10 years ago, maybe I was in the same situation than most of you. I did not have a clear idea about what is agriculture. And I can say that I have entered in the agricultural sector by accident. Because as I was saying 10 years ago, I had no idea of what agriculture is. And because the fact was that I spent all my childhood, but also my teenage in a urban city, especially in the capital of Senegal, which is Dakar. So like most of young people at my age, in my naivety, I saw that the farmers have some magic so that they can transform the food from seed to our plate by magic. So I did not have a clear idea about what is agriculture, how it is done, and who are farmers and how they are working to feed the world. And then one day, all my perception about agriculture changes, because at that time I was in my final year of the senior high school. It was a few days before the final exam of my senior high school. And then one morning, when I was taking my breakfast with my mother, because I love taking my breakfast with my mother and having conversation with her, and making her laugh in the morning. So she informed me that I had to do a test, a national competition, in order to enter to the National School of Agriculture. So I can say that it was the first time for me to really hear about this word, which is agriculture, and trying to be a little familiar with this word. But I was not excited at this idea, because I remember even the day I went to the center to do this competition, I have arrived a little bit late, and also the funny part was that the subject they gave us for this test was not being dealt in class. So I was a little bit surprised. And even when at this center, as I was saying, I was not so excited. So just to allow you to have to understand in what context I have entered in this agricultural sector. And then there's one day just after passing the senior high school exam, I received a call from the National School of Agriculture telling me that I have been preselected, and then I have to do an interview with some panelists in order to get the final entrance to this National School of Agriculture. I went there also without excitement, because I was not convinced that being in the agricultural field will be a good choice for me, because I had maybe other dream jobs. And even there, the funny part with this interview was that after the third panelist asked me a question, I wanted to leave the room, and then one of the panelists told me, "Hey, where are you going? Because we are 7, so why you wanna leave this room before all of us have finished to ask you questions?" So just to remember in what context and how I was not convinced and excited in the idea of doing agriculture, because most of the young people in Senegal, and maybe even in the world, who are still facing these challenges of choosing our career plan, because even at the level of senior high school, we do not have any time in our courses that we are discussing about the choice, because making choices is so difficult if we do not have a clear understanding of what are the different choices we have. So it was my situation, because I did not have a clear understanding of what I want to do as a career. And every time people ask me about what I want to do and how I see myself in 5 years, I can literally tell them a new job when they ask me what are my dream jobs. And agriculture was not even at my 5 or 10 list of dream jobs. And then finally, I was being accepted in this school, which is the National School of Agriculture that is located in Thies. So as I was saying, Thies is located, let's say about 70 kilometers far from Dakar. So I spent my first 7 months in this agricultural school, but not even so excited by doing agronomy, because I was still looking for answers, because I was still questioning myself why I'm choosing agriculture. And at that time, I was not able to find clear answers to all these questions. And then the time came to my first internship, because at the school you have each year an internship, and for the first year you have to do an internship at one village. The most important part of the decision I took, but also the passion I have from agriculture comes from this first internship, because it was the first time for me to go far from my family first, because I had to leave at that school, but also to have this long stay in rural areas, because like as I've explained at the beginning, I born and raised in a capital city, so different with urban areas. The fact was also in this internship, even if the village was not so far from the city of Thies, we had with my other classmate to walk about miles to get the nearest point where we can charge our phone, but also our computers. But also we have to walk about miles to get the nearest well where we can get water, whether it is for bath or drinking or other purposes. And I was a little bit shocked, because even the village was not so far, all these resources were not available as well as they were available in the city where I come from. And I was trying also to ask myself questions, but also to really reflect deeply on this situation. So, and I was asking myself why and how can we just give this heavy responsibility? And when I talk about this heavy responsibility, is the fact that we are giving this responsibility to the farmers to feed our villages, but also feed our countries, feed our continent, but also feed the whole the world that is progressing very fastly. And at the same time, we are not giving them all the required resources they need to ensure this job and to do the way that this job can be done. And above all, also why these people also are considered as the most poorest people in the world. So I started to have some answers about this and why maybe choosing agriculture will matter for me, but also will make sense for me, because the connection between the fact that I'm young, I'm also, I come from a very different perspective, but also different reality. And the fact that I wanted to bring change and change the situation of rural people, the connection within these three elements comes naturally. So to understand why agriculture matters, it's about finding, because in this internship, I was able to find my why I'm choosing agriculture. Because I have discovered in this village a new reality that is so different. And the fact was, even if I were 20 years old at that time, the fact was, this reality, I do not use to see it at the major channel. So why this this reality is not we do not have this reality on major channels. So this shocked me at that time. And then also at that time, I started using social media like Twitter and Facebook, and even at this time, the Senegalese community is using SunuMbay, which is an hashtag we have created in order to gather all the information from Senegal about agriculture and how we can also connect as a young people, but also as individual and organization working in the agricultural field. So I started to learn more about blogging, about bloggers around the world and around Africa that are using social media to talk and advocate for agriculture, because that was my purpose. It was first to advocate for agricultural population, to make the distribution of resources of the country more fair, in a fair way, so that farmers can get what they deserve in the country. And I remember also at the beginning when I started talking about agriculture on the social network, I did not have such audience in this platform, and I found out that agriculture maybe is not understood as it needed to be. I remember one time I went to a meeting where I met a lady. She was working in a private bank, and when she asked me about my profession, I told her I'm an agricultural economist. And then she said me, "Oh, so there are people that are studying agriculture, really?" This, and I was like, "Oh, okay." So there's people that might think that there is no science behind the agricultural sector. There is no science behind what farmers are doing. And why agriculture matters also is the fact that 2 years ago, I had the opportunity to work with UNFAO with one of the programs named GIAHS, which is the globally important agricultural heritage system. And I think this concept allow us to really see the different dimension of agriculture. Because for one agricultural system to be recognized as a globally important agricultural heritage system, this agricultural system need to meet 5 criteria, which is first, the contribution of agricultural system to food security and livelihoods. The second one is about the contribution of system to biodiversity. The third one is about the contribution of this agricultural system to the local and traditional knowledge system. And the fourth is about cultural, but also value system and social organization. And the last one is about the characteristic of land and seascapes. And I found out that this concept really defines all the dimensions of agriculture, because people really need to understand the different dimensions of agriculture. Because first, and what is evident is that agriculture is the way for farmers, but also all the communities to have access to food security, like having the food we need at the right place, at the right time, and at the quality, at the quantity we want it. But also, agriculture is the best way also to improve the livelihood of the population, because we need, according to the research, that agriculture, the growth that are created from agriculture is 3 to 4 times more efficient than any other sector. And this is why agriculture matters, because it's contribute to improving livelihood of population. The second one is about biodiversity, because all the natural resources are important in making sure that agriculture the fact also is it's important to maintain biodiversity, because we need all the species in the ecosystem, and all the species have a role to play in producing food. But also it's about the local and traditional knowledge system, and this is where the role of women is so important, because they are the one that are the guardian of the knowledge in the agriculture, especially when it's come to processing, for example, processing of cereals, of fruits, of vegetables. Women are playing a huge role in conserving this kind of knowledge system, and to make it and to share it with the new generation, because it's important for that. And the first one is about the cultural, the value system, and the social organization. I can take the example of baobab, for example, which is a very emblematic plant in Senegal, which the use of baobab have allowed the local communities to gather a lot of knowledge, but also traditional knowledge that have been used through centuries in order to use this plant, but also to know what are his role in the whole ecosystem. But it's also how the agricultural and the farm work is changing our landscape, making our landscape more beautiful, because farmers have been developing techniques that allows them to do farming even in hostile places. And this is just to make people understand that there is a lot of science behind doing farming. This is not just an activity where farmer put seeds on the ground and then put water and then magically it's become food. There is a lot of people, there is a lot of sciences before getting the food down. And this is this allow me also to connect this criteria to the old value, what we call value chain, because value chain is important also, because when you talk about value chain, it is the set of different activities that are needed in order to transform food from seed to the fork, like from the field to our plate. And just to make people understand that we are so close to the old farming system, but in urban cities maybe we might not consider how close we are with all the farm system, but we must think about all the people that have engaged in bringing our food from field to the fork. And this allows us also to make people understand the diversity of profile that can exist in the farming system, because as Verlaine was introducing me, I'm an agricultural economist. In our school, we have 4 years of common classes, and then at the final year, we have specialization. Why I have chosen agricultural economist? Because coming back in this first internship I did in this village, I wanted to bring changes. And for me, the best way to bring changes was to be at a policy level and at a strategy level. Because in the agronomy, we have both profiles that are more in the field, and we have also profiles that are in the strategic level, but also we have people that are at the grassroots level. And to understand that, you have to understand all the farming system, because when it's come to seed varieties, what are the best varieties? There is specialists that are working on this field, which is the crop manager that are responsible of doing research about the best varieties for farmers to allow them to improve their productivity. And when it's come to soil, there is also agronomists that are specialized in soil sciences to allow farmers to have a clear understanding of the different characteristics of the soil, whether it is about the structure of the soil, but also the level of fertility of the soil, and what are the minerals that are present and what are the lacks, and so that the farmers can bring some fertilizers to fill this gap of fertility. When it's come to the natural resources that are available, there is also specialists, which is the forestry specialists, who are responsible to make farmers really understand what are the different species, what are their role, how they can use it to improve their productivity. And you have also agricultural engineers who are responsible of bringing mechanization into the farm, but also are responsible to bringing irrigation system, because we know with climate change, our farmers have been challenged every day. So we need these agricultural engineers to give advice to farmers for irrigation and also mechanization. And we have us, we are at the beginning, but also at the end, because we are the one responsible to find the best combination of all these different resources in a way that will improve the productivity of farmers. But also at the end, we are responsible to link these farmers to all the market, but to link them with other value chain actors, which might be distributors, but also policymakers, but also research institutions, because we are the one that are specialized in improving the competitivity of the value chain. So just to make you understand really that there is a broad and a very diverse profile that are possible in our agriculture field. Most of the time, people do not consider, like me, 10 years ago, I did not consider agriculture as a field that I want to go in. For my career plan, I started working as a volunteer in this association. I'm currently there. This association is Yeesal Agrihub. So Yeesal Agrihub is the first Agri Tech Hub in West Africa. Why we have chosen to create this association? Maybe it will be long to explain all the context, but maybe I will go straight to that. Because we wanted to bring young people together, because in 2014, I had the chance to travel to Kenya, in Nairobi, exactly, as a social media reporter, because at that time I started using blogging and social media to advocate, not AC activist, but I'm an activist, like an AG activist. I tried to bring agriculture at the top of the agenda in the discussion that have been into the social media. So we have noticed in Nairobi that there is a very dynamic group of young people working on the sector and bringing ICT in this sector. So we wanted to replicate this kind of ecosystem, and we back in Senegal with one of the co-founder of Hub, and with a group of young people with a very diverse profile, we decided to create this hub that with a purpose to bring innovation in the agricultural sector by using ICT, because digitalization is something that might be new for some people, but it's a field that I have been working because I have seen the big opportunity that digital can bring in agriculture, in the innovation, but also in giving useful information to farmers, whether it's about weather, the market information also. So in Yeesal Agrihub, I'm playing a role of program manager. So just to allow you to have a possible career plan in the agricultural sector, because in our hub, we don't only have agronomists, we have also IT specialists, we have journalists, we have breeders, we have farmers, we have also geography, people that are specialized in geography. So we have a very broad and diverse group of young people working in this sector, because for me, I believe that farming needs a very broad group of competencies that can be used in order to improve the productivity of farming. So maybe I will try to stop there. Maybe having some question, I will go deep in some part of my talk. I would like to thank you again for listening to me. It was I was so happy to try to share my story, and can't wait to get your questions so that we can continue this conversation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Abdourahmane. That was really enlightening, and I have to say even powerful. You know, I think at this time I take a lot of notes. I think that's something I tried to do, but from what you shared, I really liked the connection that you made about being intentional, you know, and starting from a point where you had no idea about what you want to do. And I think that's something that we can all connect to, and particularly young people, young women and men who are on this call, where, you know, you go through the process of studying, education, but as you mentioned, you don't have a time or a platform to figure out what is my next move in terms of career, what am I going to do, and how can I make a contribution? And your story of going, you know, back to earth, if I can say that like that, and understanding the gaps that were existing, and not only merging your own desires and your own dreams, but bringing the dreams of communities, and you mentioned, you know, farmers, really shows that there's a lot that we can accomplish in fields that might be deemed maybe, oh, this is not something that I want to do, I don't see myself there. But if you're intentional, as you mentioned, and understanding your why, then you can actually accomplish anything from, you know, building your own dream to helping other people, you know, and building community. So thank you so much, Abdourahmane. That was really powerful to hear your story. I think the floor is open. We're going to process like we do usually. We're going to have a Q&A. If you would like to come on the floor, please unmute your mic, raise your hand, and the floor is yours. Thank you. Carol?
Yeah, hiya. Hello, everyone.
Hey.
My question is about research, because I find that research isn't done on agriculture in Africa. And I feel without research, we can't really go, despite the efforts of people like yourselves, I feel that without enough research, we can't really progress much further.
Thank you so much, Carol. Abdourahmane, do you want to take a few questions and then answer, or would you like to go one by one?
Yeah, I think we can take a bunch of questions, and then I will come back about that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Carol, for the question. The next person to come in is actually the reason why Zahara's Dream exists. She's my sister, and she's also my mentee. We have a mentoring program through Zahara's Dream, and her name is Zahara. And she worked with me as an intern about 3 years ago. She's in Mali, and she's going to come in with her question. Zahara, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Verlaine, for this introduction. And thank you, Abdourahmane, for your insightful presentation. I've been interested in agriculture recently. So before the talk, I actually did some research on you, and you are very inspiring. So I was wondering, what are some of the major challenges you have faced since the beginning of your agricultural career? And also, what are some advice you would give to someone interested in starting a career in agriculture? Thank you.
I think we can start with replies. So we can take 2 questions and then reply.
Thank you, Abdourahmane. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for your question. Thank you also for attending this meeting. About the research question from Carol, thank you for your question. I think, as you were saying, there is a lot of things that have been done in the research system. And this is, I think, where my work as a blogger comes, because I wanted also to translate this scientific data into something that will be more easy for people to use, because there's a lot of research in our libraries or that are used, because the fact the time I was going to the agriculture sector, even me, I had some difficulties to find some information about the agricultural sector and what are the results of the research. And then I tried and I have begun to use research to use blogging and social media in order to translate all these research results into a platform where I have young people or people that are not working on my field. So this challenged me to translate all this data into something more available for people that are not in my field. So this is a way I am trying to make research results more available. But also at Yeesal Agrihub, we had also this purpose of connecting research to the private sector. We have organized, for example, one meeting where we have invited research institutions, but also some young entrepreneurs, so that they are more aware about what have been done in their sector. Maybe if it is one entrepreneur that are processing, for example, millet or sorghum or rice, for example. The purpose of this meeting was to connect these entrepreneurs working on processing these areas with one researchers working on the field of improving the processing results, maybe improving nutritional values of this product. So we try really to connect these researchers with private sector so that the private sector can take the lead into really using this outcome of the result, because most of the time, as you were saying, in most countries, and we are still dealing with this challenge of making research results more available to people that are not working on the same field. I hope that the question was well answered. So coming in the question of Zahara about the major challenges for in my career, and if I have to give some advices, for the first things to understand is that choosing a career in agriculture is the first thing to know is that a career in agriculture is so challenging, because every day you have challenges, because farming is an operational activity. Every day you need to bring solution to the farmers, because whether it is about some pest in the field or let's say irrigation system that are not very good. So we have to bring solution every time, and you have to take decision very fast. So this is a very challenging job. But the good part in these challenges is the fact that through your career, you will have to deal with people that you don't know. Maybe it will be the first time that you have the chance to meet them, and you need to, as an agronomist, to develop your empathy. You need to be at the place of farmers, not to be someone that is just coming from urban cities with all the knowledge at the school, and you wanted to like force your knowledge to the farmers. You need to develop your empathy, your humility with farmers, because they have been working on the field through centuries, and you have a lot to learn from them. And throughout my career, I've been able to really have this capacity of listening, but also learning from farmers, because they have a lot to share. But also being curious, because there is a lot of research that are available, so you can every time try to learn more about what is going on, what is happening. Because in social media, for example, every day I'm challenged, because people might ask you a question that you never thought about, and then you have to give them reply, because once you started talking about one subject, will be taken as a reference by people. So you need to be aware and be ready to give a solution, but also to give replies to these people. And that's why it's so important to make the knowledge acquisition continuous. You need to learn every day from farmers and from all the farming ecosystem stakeholders. Thank you.
Do you mind if I say something quickly? Just a quick question to follow up on your answer to my question, please. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I read somewhere where Africa, in terms of research, has around 70 researchers to every 1 million people. In Central America, it's around 550 researchers to every 1 million people. And in North America, it's almost 3,000 researchers to every 1 million people. So in terms of sustainable solution, how do you see us going forward? Where it comes to 70, it's not improving in Africa. So instead of increasing, the researchers are they're either stable or they're decreasing. So in terms of a long-term solution, what's your what would you suggest that could rectify the problem?
Yeah, thank you. I think I will go directly to the answer. And I think what we are doing currently is a way for us to change this situation, because through this platform we can inspire more people to go into the research. Because even at my school, many of my classmates are now working maybe with NGOs, with international organizations. Like, let's say less of them are working now in the research field. But I think we need also to have mentors, because when we finish our career, we need people that can inspire us, but that can give us advices about how to be a good researcher, or how to get into the field of research. But also, it's about also giving the investment that research need, and because the condition of the working condition of researchers in these different continents you have cited is so different. We can see that the research condition in our countries is not so well developed or well organized. So we need also good investment in research. But also I believe that we have very different agricultural ecosystem, and it is important to understand this diversity, because maybe in US they have a way of doing research, but here in Africa we have our farmers that have developed a huge stock of researches that they have been developing, and it's important to take account of also the research that farmers have been developing. Maybe it's not at the standard of international research, but we need to dig deep into this ecosystem of research in the farming system. Also, we need to put them together, and then I think maybe by doing so, we will improve really the rate of researchers in the country, but also really pushing young people, especially to go to the research, but also have this mentor that can advise us into getting into the research system.
Okay, thank you
for your question again.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Abdourahmane. Perhaps Fadi and Umi?
Yes, hey. Hi, everyone. Sorry I joined a bit late, but this is a very interesting conversation. So my name is Fadimata. I'm from Mali. Very happy to see a man in this conversation and a brother from Senegal. And Nangadef Mangifre et tout ça. Je me rappelle plus de memo Wolof. So this is a very interesting and close thematic, close to my heart. I have actually a close friend of mine. We graduated from the same school that you went through. And over the year, he has been trying to get me into agribusiness. And I was always like, that's too difficult. I will never make it. It's too complicated. But as I am getting older, I'm like, you know what? I really feel like I need that connection to agriculture. And I'm from a pastoralist background culturally. And now my dad is retired. And one thing I'm really dreaming to do for him is to see if I can set a small farming land, something where you can have the combination of both agriculture and pastoralism. But I'm always scared because it's an unknown territory for me. So I was wondering if through your NGO or association or group of volunteers, there was any support or any mentorship that you can provide to women in particular to better understand this territory and also understand the value chain, because you mentioned earlier the importance of understanding value chain, the importance of understanding how to get support, where to get support. So I know it needs investment, but at least having a first understanding and then valuing how if it's something I can do and how I can do it, so that it's not a loss, but it's a combination of a passion for me, but it's also an area of growth for me. Sorry, it's a long question, but I hope I have made myself clear. Thank you, and have a good day in Dakar.
Thank you, you too. So thank you, Sister Fadimata, for your question. In our association, we are developing Empower program for youth and women in rural areas. Currently, we are implementing one program in this field. So we are, and it's all about first making these beneficiaries understand what is value chain, who are the different actors, stakeholders that are working in this value chain, because it's important to know who you can partner with. And the first things to do is maybe to start with a business model Canva. I don't know if you are familiar with this tool, but it's really help in order to know what are your value proposition, what you want to bring new into this field, pastoral, for example. And I think most of the people also think that they do not have all the required resources they need to start a business in agriculture. A business in agriculture can even start with a very little investment. The best way to do it is to start with what we have, because you already have the knowledge. And I think it's the biggest asset in going in the agribusiness is knowing having the knowledge, and you already have it. So there's the only thing that matters is the knowledge and the passion as well, because it's important to have passion about what you want to do. So in our program is designed in a way that we allow our young people, but also women entrepreneurs to really understand what are the value chain, and it's about to know where you can get the raw material when it's about processing, what are the different market channels, what are the prices that are practiced, and all this information you can have it online by doing some research. There is a lot of organizations that have already done some studies on value chain. For example, you have in Senegal USAID, or also FAO, or some also public organizations that have done the job of giving you a clear understanding of what is value chain and who are different stakeholders involved in this value chain. So you need also to do some research to really understand and have a clear understanding of the whole value chain, because it's important to be connected to the others, and to really understand also how the policies are, what are the current policies, because I can take the example of chicken in Senegal, for example. Long ago, the government have decided, for example, to stop the import of chicken in Senegal so that they can improve the local market. So you need to understand this kind of policies, because it's a part of the value chain, so that you can know what are the strategies you develop. So this is the way we are trying to empower young people, but also in a personal way, because in our empowerment program, we have personal development, we have business modeling, we have business planning, we have also all the techniques, whether it is about crop production, but also livestock management, but also processing, and still trying also to connect this people, women and young people to the whole market, and we are putting them in real situation, because you need most of the time also to really meet people, also to discuss with them, and this is the most part of my work I love, because I used to be an introvert, and now with agronomy I can have this humility, this capacity of really being at the place of people I'm working with and I'm talking with. So we try to start with what you have, and believe me that you have the most challenging asset, which is the knowledge, and you already have it. Thank you.
Thank you. So I will connect with you then. Thank you very much. Looking forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It will be a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Fedi. Thank you, Abdourahmane. We have 3 next questions. Just to keep you informed, everyone, we have, when we have a good time, time flies very quickly. We unfortunately have only 7 minutes left for this talk, but if our guest speaker is okay to extend slightly, not too long, the session, then perhaps we can finalize the Q&A. We have 3 questions, Abdourahmane. Is it okay for them to come?
Yeah.
Yes, we have Umi, San,
Yes,
and Idris. Thank you so much.
Good morning or good afternoon, Abdourahmane. My name is Umi. Nangadef?
Magnifique.
Sorry, I want to be biased. I'm from the Gambia. Everyone. Really, today you touched something that is very important to every household in the world. And I'm happy that I hear you are talking about the empowerment programs that you're doing in your organization. And I know I follow some of it because my brother also is into animal husbandry, and he follows some of what Senegal does a lot. So for me, what I am always concerned was sustainability, because sometimes we have, even the government will come in and public sector will come in and say, okay, we're here to talk about agriculture to help you, or farming. They'll bring the machines, say, okay, we're going to build roads because maybe the farms are far. So at least when you harvest your products, you can reach the market very early, or you'll have storage facilities. But maybe after a year or 2, the roads are not good anymore, or the storage facilities, something is wrong with it. There is not enough light or electricity or fuel. So how can we make sure that we can, your organization or other organization can be able to have that power, that to make sure that there is enough monitoring and evaluation of these projects when they come in to help the lay person who is in these remote villages who are doing very well when it comes to agriculture. Because growing up, there were no emphasis on agriculture. What we see was that just a farmer, what they do is to farm and help feed their families. But it was not, the education was not that, hey, if you continue doing this, you can even be self-employed. So you don't need to go to school until when you finish and expect somebody else to employ you. You can go to school, go to university, study agriculture, and come back and be your own boss and work and even employ other people. So I think this was also that has affected us in a way that what we see was that agriculture was maybe, or farming was that because my parents do it, I don't want to follow it. But not knowing that this is something that can help develop you, can empower you, can develop your community. So what can we do to make sure that we have more awareness up till now for people who want to do agriculture, that there are tools, there are information that they can get access to help them improve. And the other thing is that to make sure that farmers or people who are starting to be able for them to be teach modern tools that they can use, and even if they have them, what they can do to make sure that if they are not working, they will be able to work on them without waiting for somebody to come and fix those tools for them. Thank you.
Thank you so much for your question.
Perhaps.
Thank you so much. We can.
We can take the next one.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Sun and Idris.
Hello, thank you. So my name is Sun. I'm from a little far away, but I almost have a follow-up to Umi's question. And basically what I'm asking is, as we today see the expansion and development of industrialized agriculture, who come, and they come with their ways of doing things, their patents, their seeds, and a lot of the time beliefs that they do it better, they farm better, among other things. How do you advocate and help traditional farmers develop and compete?
Is there another question? Or?
Yes, thank you very much. Idris?
Hello everyone. Hi, Thies. Thank you, Mr. Diop. Thank you, Mr. Diop, for the great presentation. I'm so glad to hear you when you discuss about your great experiences and studies. I'm Mr. Idris Al-Hassana. I did also my studies in National High School of Agriculture in Thies, Senegal, as Mr. Diop. So I have one question about climate change and self-food sufficiency. As you know, in many countries in Africa, the great problem as peasants faced is about water and as I can say, the land. And if you can see in the different countries such as Senegal or the other countries in sub-Saharan countries, sub-Saharan part of Africa, the peasant, they don't have great opportunities to have a great yield after the great period of the production. So I want to know, as a great actor of agriculture, what is your plan to improve the yield of these peasants in their farm? You understand my question?
Thank you. Yes, I got you. Thank you.
That is my question.
So, great question. Can I go forward? Can I go, Bella?
Thank you so much, Abdourahmane. Yes, thank you.
Okay. So I think I will start with a question from Umi. Hello, Umi from Gambia. I hope to visit your country this year. I've never been in Gambia, even if it's so close to Senegal. Regarding the sustainability, I think the best way to ensure that once we are done this project, that the action will continue, is first to try to build this project together with who we consider as a beneficiary, because it's important also to learn from them, because they are the one that really understand the reality, but also all the different part of the ecosystem, because we need to think farming as an ecosystem, not just as something with one part, but as an ecosystem with every part of the ecosystem having its role, whether it is about women, men, grandmothers, young people, but also all the different resources that are available also. So it's important to build this project with people you are working for. This is what we try to implement here in our hub, because for each of our project we try to develop, we have a clear monitoring but also evaluation plan. And it starts from the beginning of the project. Before implementing the activities, we have to do an evaluation baseline where we are going to really meet the different stakeholders of the project and to really know how their reality, their challenges they are facing, and how they think they can change their journey, how they can change their life, how they can overcome these challenges. Because it's important also to know that these people were not sleeping when they have met these challenges. So we need to learn from them. We need to bring what we have learned with what farmers have as an experience, so that we can try to improve what we have learned in our schools. So for me, the best way to ensure our project is sustainable is to bring all this knowledge available and to really make our beneficiaries more comfortable, so that they can feel that they are involved in the whole process from the beginning of the project to the end. Having also this being also close to being also close to all the community, because it's important also to really be humble with them, and also really try to do all the efforts needed in order to bring them to involved in all the process. I hope that it might some answers to the question. The first one is about the awareness, and this is what I'm trying to do since 2012, because I'm trying to bring agriculture on the top of the agenda in social media, so that more and more people can be involved. And it's important for people to know that they have a role in the agricultural sector. Even you, or even people working on as in another field, they have a role to play in the agricultural sector. Because if we are not farmers, maybe we are consumers. We are all consumers. We consume food, because we can't imagine a day without food, and we all have a role to play in this agricultural ecosystem. Whether it is about going to the farm, whether it's about doing the distribution of food, but or being just someone that loves food. Because and there is a quote that I have listened to in one of the webinars I have been participating in, saying that if you eat, you are in the farming system. And I agree with this quote, since for me, we have all a role to play in the agricultural sector. And raising the awareness about what is farming is what I'm really trying to do in presenting the diversity of profiles that are possible in the agricultural sector in social media, because we know that we are as young people, we are so connected, we use a lot of social media. And the fact is, at the beginning, the agricultural subject was not so discussed in such platform, and I really tried to bring this station happen in such platform. And me, the best way to raise awareness about agronomy, but also advocating for farmers, is to use social media and different also media channels, so that people are aware about what is farming, but also they can go into this opportunity. And what I'm trying to do is also using social media to do some, like in Twitter, for example, I'm using thread that allow me, for example, to present for each value chain. I'm presenting the different stakeholders, but also the different opportunities in this sector. So in Twitter, you can see that through this initiative, allowing people to have data about this value chain, what are the amount of production, what are the different value chain actors, but also what are the big opportunities in this sector, so that people can understand that there is big opportunities that are just waiting for them in this sector. About the modern tools, I was talking earlier about the ICT. ICT are now playing a huge role in the agricultural sector. I can take the example of the president of our association, which is a woman, and she is an IT, but she have seen that there is a lot of group of women that are that have some difficulties to distribute their processed food, because they do not have platform that allow them to sell their processed food. So with her IT background, she decided to create the platform named Soretul. Soretul meaning it's not so far, allowing household in urban cities to get access to the processed food. So this is a kind of modern tool that we can use as an IT to bring innovation in the agricultural sector and to allow farmers to have solution for particular challenges. And it's about also young people that are using ICT, for example, to give weather information for farmers so that they can know the best time to seed, to grow food, and to start their activities, but also about how to manage the irrigation system. And it's all about this modern tool that young people are now creating to bring solution to the challenges that are encountered by farmers on a daily basis. About the question from Sun, I think it was in the same perspective like Umi, about the question for how to deal with climate change, food self-sufficiency, water, land, from Idris. So Idris, thank you for a question again. And what are the great opportunities to improve the yield? As I was saying, so in my story, for example, I found out that there is now a fair distribution of all the resources, especially for the farmers. So we need to put farmers at the top of the agenda, but also to make the resources available for them. And when I was talking about ICT also, it's kind of solution we can bring also, because farming needs a lot of information, because farmers need to take a lot of decisions. And the best way to improve the productivity is also giving them right information about how to improve. But also, I think being at the policy level as engineer, we need also to really to play our role in advising farmers, but also try to do some volunteer work, because even if we are working full time for an NGO or a big organization, we might have some time to do volunteering, because we have studied agriculture, so we need also to share our knowledge with people that need it. I think this is all the an ecosystem, and everyone have a role to play in this ecosystem. Thank you all for your questions. So, and I hope that I tried to give answers to your question.
Abdourahmane, thank you so much. We don't have any additional questions now. I'm going to turn on the camera back. Perhaps we can ask if someone has a last question to ask before we wrap up. Is there anyone who would like to unmute and and share some thoughts or anything? Don't be shy. All right, so I think we've went through the process, and thank you so much, Abdourahmane, for the great talk and sharing your own experience and some of the tools moving forward, from the why agriculture, why it matters, to how, to make that a reality for a lot of people and for communities. I have few ask if I can share from the conversation and from all the insights and questions and comments that came out. One of the first one is on the ecosystem. There's been a lot of questions and requests from the floor on how to contribute to your work. As young people, young women, and young men who are part of this conversation, how can they volunteer, or how can they learn more on the ecosystem? So one of the asks that we may have at Zahara's Dream and as a community is to see with you if it's okay to perhaps develop an online, not necessarily a training, but an online engagement where Zahara's Dreamers can come in. I have in mind, of course, Zahara, who's pursuing, work in agriculture. Umi, Fadimata, the Idris, they all share their interest into that. So this is something that we could work on together. That would be fantastic. A second point that we take out from this conversation is that we all need to up our Wolof because we need to make sure that we go beyond just Dangadef and have a full conversation with our brothers and sisters on this call today. The last point I'd like to share is you are an extraordinary young leader, building really change from the agricultural sector. We're going to share all the resources from the podcast that you share to the work that you're leading. So anyone who would like to know more will be able to get more information. The last one, which I think should have been the first point, was on the post-it, your wall. I'm gonna copy you and get all my post-its on this slide. I think everyone agrees.
Yeah, what are those post-its? I was wondering. I forgot to ask.
Yeah, so the post-it is a man with a plan. Abdourahmane, a man with a plan.
Very interesting and colorful. Are the colors? Do the colors mean something?
Oh yes. So this is like an empowerment plan. So from defining, structuring project, what are the stakeholders, the different modules we have. Yeah, so there is an entrepreneurship journey. So that is a kind of entrepreneurship journey. So
interesting. Okay.
Because visualization is so interesting, but so learn very fast.
Yeah.
So having a workshop that bring some interesting outcomes. So it's interesting also to have this kind of rules where once you enter at the room, you can have a clear understanding of what you want to do.
Thank you so much, Abdourahmane.
There, Valin. Sorry, I just wanted to say, he's a Wolof or a Serer, so they don't remember. They're not smart like us, really full us. So that's why he has to write all those things. So Lola, I'm jam.
All right.
Now it's turning. German is Berlin. Now it's turning into a fight. Cousinage plaisanterie.
But next time we have a talk, perhaps we'll make sure that we bring Cheboudian, because this is, exactly. So once we finish the talk, we can all sit down around the table and eat a good cheb.
You missed that.
Yes, but Abdourahmane, you promised the cheb, so we will all come to your kitchen.
I'm waiting for you in Dakar.
But I'm going to give you the last word, Abdourahmane. That was a fantastic session. Thank you so much. And everyone agrees on the chat box that we learned so much from you today. I guess the last quote that I'd like to share from your own presentation is that if you eat, you're part of the agriculture sector. So we're all part of the agriculture sector. So let's look at how we can contribute, even if it's in a small way, eating, more secure, more sustainable food, farmers markets, you talked about it. So that's the last word. Abdourahmane, I leave you the last word. And as we shared, we're going to chase you to look at how to engage young people in agriculture. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Verlin, and all the team behind this initiative. As I was saying, it is so interesting for young people and so important for young people to have this kind of platform where we can try to meet, but also connect with other young people that are maybe have challenges than us. And even with this pandemic situation, but also the fact that we are not in the same country, not using the same languages, all these things was not a barrier for us because we have a very pleasant and very interesting conversation. And I'm so happy to be to have been your guest today, and I hope so. We'll have some follow-up activities so that we can maintain this connection with these people, and I will be still available also to bring some advices, but also some orientation for people that really want to engage in the agricultural sector. And as you're saying, if you eat, you are in the agricultural sector. So let's try to know what role we can play in the agricultural sector. And it started with little action, as I was saying, because I started with blogging in social media, and it was little action now, but now we can see the result because more and more people are now talking about agriculture. I can't go into Twitter, for example, without seeing one of my brothers or people in a community that come from this whole discussion, because we have been able to know to know really who are doing what, and how we can partners, and how we can change the narrative about agriculture, because there is even people working at the bank that now joined the agricultural sector. So it's possible, and it will be my pleasure also to give some orientation, but also some advices. So thank you all. Jërëjëf in Wolof. So jërëjëf, and thank you everyone for attending this meeting. But it's great